Hello, and welcome to this week's Movie Math, where Disney itself was a tale of two box offices over the weekend, with one of the biggest hits of all time, and one of the biggest flops. Oh my. Meanwhile, Wicked for Good continues to fall significantly behind the first film. Wow, on the day of its season finale, so good tonight. My breakdown will be ready as soon as the episode ends, so you can head over there right as it finishes. And I wouldn't be late because this is one heck of a season finale. It's a real doozy. Oh boy, I can't wait for you to see it. But Welcome to Derry still can't chart, at least 3 weeks in, despite supposedly being a huge hit for the streamer. What's going on over at HBO Max? And does it potentially make Peacemaker look a little bit better? We're going to discuss all of that in today's Movie Math, and be sure to subscribe because the year is wrapping up, which means top 10 lists, not just for 2025, but for 2026 as we get excited for a whole new year of movies and shows. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and the notifications bell so you know as soon as videos go up and you get a 30-minute heads up on when live streams are about to begin. 2025 has also had a lot of drama, which promises to continue into 2026. The comic book genre has started to show potentially long-term damage. Can Doomsday pull it out of that? I don't know about Supergirl. We'll see. It looks like we're going to be down yet another major Hollywood studio, and Hollywood's either going to the streamers or the conservatives. Buckle up, baby. And as I said, be sure to hit that subscribe button because we're going to talk about all of it. But today we're going to talk about Disney, and I want to start with their history-making Zootopia 2. 17 days! That's all it took for Zootopia 2 to join the $1 billion club. You know what the turbo or the Knox was, whatever you call that button they hit in Fast and the Furious? China. Oh my God. But it's the fastest ever for an animated movie, just beating out Inside Out 2, which did it in 19 days. Not enough to make the chart. And that, as I said, is thanks to mind-blowing box office numbers coming out of China. A little over 500 million already. And it's also done very well in Japan, and also, to be fair, a couple of European countries as well. This has propelled Zootopia 2 to close to $1 billion in overseas box office alone, a whopping 77%. This is one of the highest percentages ever for a Hollywood movie. It's a really big freaking deal. And it's good because, well, it's yet another reminder that audiences don't like to be pandered to. Remember how Marvel was like, China, we made Shang-Chi for you. And then China was like, it can't even play here. And then also the Middle Kingdom has fallen in love with Zootopia, where the first one was not made for them. The second one very much was. Also, as North American audiences are like, we're happy waiting for digital and streaming. Don't worry about it. This shows that Hollywood no longer has to rely solely on North American audiences for the bulk of their box office. Although, we've done this dance before. China, we were getting along with them in the movie space for a while. Then, not so good. And this is like, oh, maybe we're a thing still. I mean, it's easier said than done. This is fantastic, but good luck repeating it. I mean, Disney fell into this situation by accident in the first place. They didn't know how much China and Asia and overall would love Zootopia, right? Until the first movie came out and they were like, wow, they really like Zootopia. And then they leaned into it to their credit. They have the theme park in Shanghai. And then, of course, they made Zootopia 2, as I said, for China, with the new character being a snake, well, the main new character, to coincide with the year of the snake. I mean, it's very clever. I'm sure every other development executive is like, what are the other years? Can we play into that at all, maybe? Let's start thinking about it. But it's not like Zootopia 2 is tanking in North America. In its third weekend, it's back on top of the box. I mean, no really big movies came out this weekend, but still, it went back to number one with just a 39% drop. That is a mighty nice hold. Now, it's not going to match Moana 2 or Inside Out 2 domestically. It's tracking way behind both of them. But just a matter of days, it will surpass all the Marvel movies domestically. It's already blown past them worldwide. It is domestically Disney's second biggest movie of the year, right? I mean, that's so nice for Disney Animation. They're like, oh, so long. They just flew right past all the other verticals. And worldwide, the movie's actually surpassed Lilo and Stitch already. And again, the movie's only getting started. This is only its third weekend. It hasn't even been in theaters for a month. We'll see what happens with Avatar. That's a 3-hour movie though. Families should go to see Avatar, but not families with younger kids. I don't know. Does your kid have the aptitude to sit through with trailers, that's a 3-hour, 45-minute experience. It really needs an intermission, man. I think SpongeBob is more of a threat, but not that big of a threat. I think there is a very strong chance that Zootopia 2 will play throughout the entire holiday season and maybe even through most of January. Because don't forget, Disney is the only studio still hanging on. They're like, we're going to do it to long theatrical windows, which based on Moana 2's release schedule means Zootopia 2 won't hit digital until the end of January and won't hit Disney Plus until mid-March. Woo! You gotta see it in theaters. Does that make a difference to you with Disney movies? Because they take so long to hit digital and then Disney Plus. Do you go to see them in theaters, whereas with other films you wouldn't because it'll be a faster turnaround? Or are you even thinking that way? Some of you are, I know, because we talk about it here on Movie Math. But I think Ella McCay is going to be available on the small screen a lot faster. Whew, what a stinker. Has James L. Brooks lost his touch as a filmmaker, or have audiences really changed that much? I'd say it's probably a bit of both. Plus, while some of you argue that there's no such thing as a movie star anymore, I think an actress with some name recognition would have helped here. Probably couldn't have saved this clunker, but would have gotten it to open with more than $2.1 million. What about Woody Harrelson and Jamie Lee Curtis, for Pete's sake? Well, yeah. But, I don't know. I think I saw a lot of people being like, who on earth would see this in theaters? And I am inclined to agree. I think Disney, the real problem here is they didn't make a good case for anyone to feel this was theater worthy. And then the reviews and audience reaction certainly didn't help. The audience scores, whew, what a stinker, as I said. And that should fall on Brooks, who again, as we discussed last weekend, has so much Simpsons money at this point. He's really kind of making movies as a hobby. That doesn't mean he has to embarrass himself. But unfortunately, Disney gambled on Emma Mackey as the lead, and Mackey gambled on herself. Because if this had been a hit, or even had just gotten good reviews, this would have been a big career boost for her. But instead, it's going to become a liability. And I think it'll make it difficult to book work for her. People will be like, who's Emma Mackey? And they're like, remember Ella McCay? So hold on. All right, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. So what does she have coming up? I always tell you, book your future gigs before your next movie comes out, because it could be a horrible flop. So she has done that. She's in Greta Gerwig's upcoming Narnia movie as the White Witch. They should have maybe gone with Charlie X. And now, because I think she's a bit of a liability for the film. Before she was coming off of Barbie. Like she seemed like her trajectory was going up. Now her trajectory is going down, and you're like, ooh, maybe another reason to wait to see it on Netflix. She's also in the J.J. Abrams Ghostwriter movie coming up opposite Glenn Powell. Oh, news! That's 2 strikes against the movie. And Jenna Ortega co-stars, and now she's going to have to do an awful lot of heavy lifting. Samuel L. Jackson is in the movie as well, but we all know how much he loves a paycheck gig. He's even admitted to it. He's a hoot. Everybody loves Samuel L. Jackson. Now, as I said, so maybe Hollywood will definitely remember she was in Ella McCay. They're going to be like, oh boy. But maybe audiences, maybe the movie will just be a blip. Like no one will even remember it, maybe. I don't know. The poster was so memorable. I saw people mimicking it on social media, which I thought was funny. But we'll see. Her publicist should say, just say she was in Barbie. I'd be like, that's it. Because she was also in Death on the Nile, another stinker. Would you maybe list her Netflix show? Emma Mackey fans. I think the rest of us haven't really seen what you see just yet. I came around on Jacob Elordi, so I'm never going to be dismissive of someone again, but I will say we're not seeing it. What do you think they need to do to sell Emma Mackey to us? As for the rest of the top 10, sure enough, just like with the first movie, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 was a one-weekend phenomenon with a 70% drop. How did Minecraft have such staying power? Was Minecraft a bigger game, or was it a more fun theatrical experience? That chicken jockey. It was such a hoot. I actually just thought Minecraft, as someone who never played the game, I just thought it was a fun movie. I think everything just came together really beautifully there, particularly Jack Black and Jason Momoa's performances. I think the special sauce there was they chose a great director, really strong director. But, let's see if they can make lightning strike twice. Five Nights at Freddy's, though, performed about the same. And even though it had a big drop in its second weekend, it's still almost at 100 million domestic, which is really hard for movies to do these days. Which is why, with Wicked for Good, we have to remind ourselves that it's one of the most successful films of the year. I have an industry friend who keeps saying that to me. I'm like, it's really not doing as well as the first one. And people in Hollywood are very, sensitive to the future. They don't want it to seem like the movie industry is not doing well. So they're like, although it was interesting, I was in an Uber yesterday. And the driver was talking, I don't know how it came up. It was like, during the pandemic, he was like, I watched like 3 movies a day. I watched everything. And he was like, now ever since in the last 6 months, I think I've watched 1 movie. And I was like, because, I'm related to that business too. So I was like, how have your viewing habits changed from the pandemic to today? And what are you doing instead for entertainment? Is it video games? I think it might be video games. All right, so anyway, my friend was like, it did really well, thank you. And I was like, not as good as the first one. People in the industry don't like to watch box office like we do because sometimes it's depressing. But, you gotta look the truth in the eye because this is a real problem. It's falling further and further behind the last film. And at this rate, it's going to end around 500 million, a good 250 behind the first film. And I see Ariana Grande's Oscar chances slipping away, my friend. I see Best Song slipping away. What if it only gets Craft Awards again? We're back to, I think that's a real possibility. We're back-to-back films, a bad idea. Now, I think splitting the musical into 2 films was a mistake because it was never meant to be split into 2. And as all of you know who are fans of the original, it's a noticeably weaker second act. Now, they did add 2 songs, but maybe they should have added some upbeat, peppy songs, right? I think even more work should have gone into building up or bulking up the second act to make it, I think, a little bit more engaging, especially for casuals who don't have their love of the source material to fill in the blanks, It became more like watching the Harry Potter movies, although those made a lot of money, but Harry Potter fans would be like, if you read the book, you would know this was amazing. Although it's different, because even with Wicked for Good, Wicked fans were like, we know the second half isn't as good. So in hindsight, do you think anything could have been done to bolster Wicked for Good to make it perform closer to the first film? All right, India's Durandar and Japan's Jujutsu Kaisen are also still both in the top 10. Durandar actually went up despite losing 13 screens thanks to an incredible per theater average, the highest in the top 10 actually, around 9,000. And just to show how complicated the movie market is these days, in addition to overseas films being in the top 10, we've got 2 re-releases as well. Some really good movies, though. I think it's interesting how well, people it's so funny. You used to watch old movies at home, but now it's like we live in some bizarro world where people are like, I'm going to watch the new movies at home, and then I'm going to go watch old movies on the big screen. Make it make sense. I'd love to hear your reasoning down below. It is fun to go and see an old movie on the big screen. Also, to Elizabeth Olsen's credit, and, we'll give a little bit of a shout out to Miles Teller, Dua Lipa's boyfriend. I don't think he's selling any tickets at the moment. But anyway, their romantic drama has managed to stay in the top 10 for the 3rd week in a row. That's real nice. That's real nice, It's at the bottom, but it's staying there. It's a good sign for the film's digital prospects. Moving over to the small screen, we're going to start with Nielsen per usual, where in its 3rd week, It Welcome to Derry is nowhere to be found. When it debuted, they put it on the acquired chart for some stupid reason. I looked everywhere. It's not charting, and it didn't chart last week, despite really strong headlines from HBO Max, where they claim that It Welcome to Derry was their 3rd biggest debut for a new show. Yet it only charted that debut week so far. Nielsen, remember, is a month behind. The show is wrapping up tonight. Yeah, this is only for its 3rd episode, these charts. But the other 2 shows that were big debuts, House of the Dragon and The Last of Us, they both managed to chart throughout their runs and chart strongly. And they were both in their first seasons when they were charting, so that's not an argument. You can't say, well, It Welcome to Derry doesn't have a backlog of seasons to bolster it, because remember, Nielsen counts all seasons as one. That's weird. They should fix that. I guess it's too hard to do it otherwise. All right. So anyway, What is going on with HBO Max? They certainly dominate on social media, particularly on Sunday nights, and they can get shows to chart. House of the Dragon, The Last of Us, White Lotus, although White Lotus had a number of seasons under its belt. But yet Penguin, Peacemaker, and now It Welcome to Derry struggled to chart. Is it because they're genre shows, maybe? Although does House of the Dragon qualify as a genre show? Is it a lack of subscribers compared to other streamers? Does HBO Max have a serious piracy issue? Although Game of Thrones was the most pirated show in the world when it aired, and it still managed to do very well in ratings. Netflix charts, Paramount Plus charts, 2 Taylor Sheridan shows on the original top 10s list. Both chart more than Disney Plus Hulu combined, although Alien Earth did manage to chart barely, but at least it charted more than these HBO Max shows. So if you can see where I'm going with this, maybe it would benefit HBO Max to be rolled into either Netflix or Paramount Plus. I don't want to see HBO go the binge drop. I like the weekly release for them, but I will say that making All Her Fall to binge over on Peacock has done wonders for that show, where once again, for the second week, it is doing very well, even on the overall chart. Forget just being on the originals chart. But Netflix is still king, with Stranger Things the top show of the week before the new season dropped with part 1. And Frankenstein is still doing very well on this streaming chart in its 3rd week here on Nielsen. Frankenstein is also doing very well with awards nominations. With the Golden Globes, for instance, it got 5. Picture, lead actor, supporting actor, director, and score. And is Netflix's strongest argument at the moment for their release model as they try to convince everyone, the fans, the industry, the media, the government, that acquiring Warner Brothers wouldn't be the apocalypse for cinema. Last night on Saturday Night Live, with Wake Up Dead Man's Josh O'Connor hosting, Netflix ran director-focused ads for all their current awards contenders during the telecast. But here, it didn't really work because this was one of the weakest SNL episodes, I think, in recent memory, despite the charming O'Connor and a very funny Uber sketch. But overall, it was a weak episode. But do you think, here's a question for you. Do you think of Frankenstein as a real movie or as a Netflix movie? I'm sure Guillermo del Toro fans are like, how dare you? But it's a legit question. Speaking of Netflix movies, they're not exactly shouting from the rooftops about these films, where 3 of the top 5 movies this week, or this past week, were light holiday comedies. Hey, the people want to stream what the people want to stream. And number 1 was My Secret Santa, which has an absolutely crazy premise. A single mom masquerades as Santa to pay, I think, for her daughter's, I watched the trailer, because someone was like, this trailer's nuts. I think it's her ski or skating lessons, only for the mom as Santa to fall in love with the owner of the lodge. It's like, where can they go with these things, but absolutely knocking futs. So it makes me wonder when I see these movies here, how Ella McCay maybe would have done if it had gone direct, not even to digital, but to streaming. Although I don't think it would have done as well on Disney Plus and Hulu. I think streamers have a different feel. Each one has a different feel. And for some reason with Netflix, people are more like, I'll give it a whirl. You're just willing to try stuff more on Netflix, interestingly enough. Like, because shows that have flopped on other networks and streaming services, for some reason on Netflix, you guys are like, I'll watch it. Why is that? Well, I mean, I'm just very curious as to why that is. Hey, it saves some shows. You guys, this saved Interview with the Vampire. But yeah, very interesting. Do you think you would have watched Ella McCay if it had been not just on streaming, but on Netflix? I think you would have. And then K-pop Demon Hunters finally fell below 10 million views per week, but just barely, and is still in the top 3. Not much of an audience for Jay Kelly, and you might say, hey, that means Ella McCay wouldn't have done particularly well here either, but that is a lighter rom-com, whereas this is a movie about Hollywood, and audiences, mainstream audiences historically have not been interested in those types of films and stories. And there's Frankenstein on this chart in its 5th week, almost out of the top 10 at this point. With shows, Stranger Things 5 is still number 1, but fascinatingly has fallen behind Wednesday Season 2 Part 1, which was at 29 million views in its 2nd week. Is this a quality issue, a took too long between seasons issue, or dropped in the middle of the busy holiday season issue? Maybe a little bit of all 3? I mean, I think it will be interesting to see how Part 2 does, and how much it lifts maybe part one. Like, how are you digesting Stranger Things? I know some of you watch it as soon as it drops. I know some of you said you would get to it after Thanksgiving, but before Christmas. And I know some of you are waiting until part 2 drops so you can binge it. Heck, maybe you'll wait for part 3 on New Year's and binge it all at once. Although part 3 is just a 1-2 hour episode. So I can see you binging before that so you're ready to watch that finale when it drops. You know, Netflix doesn't care how you watch it as long as you stay subscribed month to month. And by the way, also, as you'll note, half of this frickin' chart is Stranger Things, which is pretty amazing. But wow, the Witcher franchise has really fallen off. Did you see there's a spinoff? Did you even realize that dropped? And how about this Matt Rife holiday special? You know, Netflix, most of their stuff, they do not advertise it. Then on digital, are you wondering why Kevin Smith's Dogma from 1999 is number 2? I sure did when I saw this chart. And at first I thought it might just be on sale. But in fact, it turns out that due to a rights issue, it hasn't been available to watch at all until now, after like 17 years or something. And now it's being released not only digitally, but also on physical media. Did you pick up Dogma? And which way did you pick it up? That is such a strong showing for this movie so many years later that if I were Kevin Smith's agent, I would use this to line up financing for a new movie. I mean, that's really what I would try to do. I'd be like, see, the peoples love me. Also, you see this Western pack? It's a 10-pack for $10. Well, there's some real crap in there, but 3 movies make it worth that money. You got Hell or High Water, 3:10 to Yuma, and Hostiles. 2 Christian Bale movies. That other Hell or High Water is Taylor Sheridan, too. And 3:10 to Yuma is James Mangold. And Hostiles is that gray guy, whatever. He just did Springsteen, and he nerfed it. But Hostiles is a good movie. Those are 3 excellent Westerns. So that's the $10 value right there. One Battle After Another is still on top. Again, the movie to beat this award season. We'll see if anyone can pull ahead, but right now it's the front runner. While Tron Ares, the first Five Nights at Freddy's, Chainsaw Man, and The Long Walk, which is on sale, are managing to hold on with the flood of holiday movies. Oh boy, it's time. The Holiday is actually leading the pack, which is why I guess Apple TV is going to remake it as a series. And with these streaming numbers, the executive in me is like, yeah, let's do it. Let's try it. But as a fan, I'm still worried. Although, while at first I was like, what do you mean Nancy Meyers isn't involved? After watching how James L. Brooks just tanked, I'm like, maybe old filmmakers can't learn new tricks. What older filmmaker would you say has managed to evolve with audiences? I think you can make a case for Steven Spielberg, right? He's always been hit or miss, right? I was also going to say Marty, but then he really also missed with Killers of the Flower Moon. So who do you think still got it? Okay, here we go. Avatar 3, baby. Oh, I'm very excited to see how this performs at the box office. I'm also very curious to see the Rotten Tomatoes score when the review embargo lifts on Tuesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. My review will be dropping then. The Way of Water opened with 134, but Fire and Ash is only tracking to open around 100 million, maybe even below 100 million. Oh my God, it's like what happened to Marvel. But speaking of that, no wonder there are rumors that Disney is airing 4 different Avengers Doomsday trailers in front of the film week to week as theater exclusives with, again, rumors that they're going to take down any leaks aggressively. Just the way you don't see any Christopher Nolan exclusives really online. So each trailer is supposedly going to debut 1 week after the other so that you see Avatar, Fire, and Ash 4 times. That seems crazy. Maybe they think you're going to use your subscription service like A-List and just walk out and Disney still gets the money. Like, we don't know how these theater subscription services work, and we don't want to know. But I really do wonder if they think that you're going to see Avatar 4 times to see these trailers. But is this a cool idea? I mean, people seem to be, how did you feel about like that long day cast announcement with the chairs, the live stream for hours? Although you just had to wait it out for a day. But at the end of that day, you got the cast list, whereas here you'll have to wait a month for all the trailers. I mean, is this a cool idea, or do you think it looks like there's blood in the water for Avatar 3? And when is Disney going to release these trailers online? At the end of each week? or are we going to have to wait until they're all released? I can't break down the visuals until they release them all online. And they're all pretty short. So I don't know how much there would be to discuss. And I think it's hard. It's not as much fun to discuss these things if we can't look at them together. Nolan's trailers have been exclusives for theaters, right? And Universal's very aggressive with trailer reactions anyway. And that's been fine. Nolan's very successful. But Marvel ain't Nolan, right? And comic book movies, I think, are different. I think, I don't know. I think it would benefit the Odyssey to be having these conversations about that film. I think there would be you're not going to break down, I'm not going to break down an Oppenheimer trailer, but I sure be breaking down an Odyssey one, but they won't give it to me to break down, right? They won't release it until Wild. What are you afraid of? But let's see. What do you think of this? Again, it's not confirmed. This is the rumor. But what are your thoughts on this? And then also this weekend, we've got some old school counter programming against Avatar with The Housemaid and SpongeBob SquarePants. Also, animated Bible Pick David from Angel Studios. Plus, Marty Supreme will open in a handful of theaters before going wide on Christmas Day. That's making a lot of headlines with the jackets that are on sale. Some crazy online videos of what those pop-up experiences are like, although it seems to be a real issue with resellers. Resellers ruining everything. But then you guys are buying from the resellers, so you create the situation. Those, your Marty Supreme, will it make the Marty Supreme jacket worthless if the movie bombs? Or does it not matter? I don't know. Those Marty Supreme jackets are going for a lot. I guess Timothée Chalamet could always have another career as a marketing person. Although, that's interesting. Ryan Reynolds benefited quite a bit from being a very smart marketer until he ran straight into his wife's drama, head first into his wife's drama. But that really helped him. And so that's interesting. That's interesting that Timothée Chalamet might have that ability as well, but is also an amazing actor. I think Marty Supreme is so good. As I told you, I'm back in on Marty. I'm back in on Timothée Chalamet. I'm like, he's great. Also, is this thing on? Bradley Cooper's latest desperate attempt at an Oscar, and also from Disney, will open in limited release and could be another Ella McCay level bomb. I think it will be. On digital, this is fun. Now You See Me 3 and The Running Man will become available on Tuesday. Both are only medium, but I think those are fun movies to be able to watch at home. Also on Friday, Netflix has another Jake Paul boxing match live. Then with shows, we've got some big ones returning this week for the holiday break. Fallout on Amazon Prime starts on Wednesday, but this time, like all Amazon Prime shows, they start as a binge, they get you hooked, and then they transition to week. This one will not only be week to week, but in fact only drops one episode on Wednesday instead of the usual 3. We'll see how audiences and fans react. Netflix also has a new game show on Wednesday, What's in the Box. Then on Thursday, Emily in Paris returns, only this time she's in Italy. Madness. So crazy, it just might work. While on Friday, Apple TV has Born to Be Wild, a docuseries about baby animals. And in this case, you don't have to wonder if they're AI, following them from birth and captivity to being released in the wild when they get older. Aww. All right, so that's this week's Movie Math. What have you been watching? What do you plan to watch? And how are you going to navigate the Avatar 3 Avengers Doomsday situation? Heck, maybe you're going to go see Avatar and just Avengers Doomsday will happen to play in front of it. Or are you going just for Doomsday? What's the game plan? Share them down below. Subscribe today. And of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.